Everybody, what's up? P691,000 here, or Eli. If you see my last video, I'm over it now, I guess. Getting over a little heartbreak, It's rough. It's rough. It is, because I don't know. You start thinking about the way she did her hair and the way I don't know, just everything. The way she did everything, she was sweet. She asked me out on a date, actually. Oh man, it was a wonderful experience in my life, and I'm glad that she's happy. What happened was, dude came down from wherever he lived, and they had dated before, and the only reason they broke up was because he I had to go do something, I don't know, for some job, and me and her were talking, and right when we were getting close to dating, he moves back here, and of course I wasn't mad. I don't begrudge anybody trying to be happy, I fell in love with her, and it was hard to get over. It hurt. It actually physically hurt me. Like, I was like, oh my god, it hurts. I didn't know, People said love hurts. I always thought, well, whatever. I don't know. Anyway, I'm pretty much over it now. I haven't been eating really good or sleeping really good for the last week, but whatever. It's really warm here. As you can see, this is January 12th, and I have the window open. So, kind of creepy weather going on. A lot of creepy things have been happening, actually. Also, Anyway, my parents, I thought I heard somebody screaming. My parents are kind of in this argument. I don't know if they're going to get divorced. 2013. I hate the number 13. Ugh. Anyway, I'm sorry. I'm babbling on about myself. This is going to be the first video in the installment of the most haunted places in America. I should have said the United States, because these are all in the United States of America. They're not in Canada or anywhere else, but it'll be alright. People know what I mean. And what more of a perfect way to start than the Lizzie Borden house? How creepy is that? Alright. Lizzie Borden house. Everyone knows the pain and suffering that a divorce inflicts upon a child. Wow, that's kind of creepy. I'm a grown man, but still. Anyway. But who knew that Lizzie Borden would take it so far? On August 4th, 1892, Lizzie Borden did the unthinkable. She supposedly killed her father and stepmother by brutally murdering them with a hatchet. Although Lizzie Borden was later acquitted, the murders did happen in the Lizzie Borden house where the family lived. The gut-wrenching horror of the Borden family being chopped to death with a hatchet will forever be in the history books as one of the most brutal double murders of all time. The Lizzie Borden house is located in Fall River, Massachusetts. It still stands to this day as a constant reminder of the atrocities that were committed there. Here's a little information on the house. The Borden sisters, Lizzie and Emma, lived in the upstairs portion of the house. The rear of the upstairs was inhabited by Andrew and Abby Borden, the mother and father, who were found so brutally murdered in their own home. Lizzie and her stepmother, it's well known, had a falling out with each other 6 years before the Lizzie Borden murders took place. Instead of calling her mother, as she always had in the past, Lizzie began calling her Miss Borden, or my father's wife, instead. It was hurtful to Abby, Lizzie's stepmother, for Lizzie to call her by the name Miss Borden. She was very broken up about it. There always seemed to be a conflict in the family about who was going to get what portion of the family's estate when Abby and Andrew had both passed. Ultimately, it led to Lizzie and her sister Emma to take extended vacations away from the Borden household. It's well known that in the years before the Borden murders, Lizzie had attempted to purchase cyanide from a local druggist. The druggist, of course, out of responsibility to his profession, refused. Lizzie proclaimed it was a clean as a seal. Oh, it was to clean a seal skin suit, which sounds extremely creepy, but anyway. Many people still have doubts about the fidelity of Lizzie's claims. What normal girl attempts to purchase cyanide, of all things? Just before the slaughter occurred, the entire Borden family was stricken with sickness and became violently ill. Why and how has never been proven to this day, but most people think it's because the Borden family was very much disliked by the people of Fall River. Why would that cause them to get sick? Anyway, the Lizzie Borden house haunted many people's thoughts and dreams for years. They just couldn't believe what had happened. The Lizzie Borden house is well known to be haunted, and many people have reported paranormal experiences here. Just what makes this house so haunted? Many people believe there is a direct correlation between the murders and the unexplained events that happened at that night. You could find out for yourself, but do you dare bring more publicity to spirits that would rather be left alone? Well, we'll leave that up to you. Since the time of the murders, the house has undergone changes to the bed and breakfast and the Lizzie Borden Museum. Listed at 92nd Street, the house accommodates people from all walks of life and invites them to stay in a house that will forever go down in history. People staying at the Lizzie Borden bed and breakfast can view the murder scene and even try to get a taste of the paranormal. There are 2 bedroom suites that you can stay in, Lizzie and Emma's room and Andrew and Abby's room. There's also the John Morris guest room and Bridget's attic room. Finally, there are 2 additional bedrooms available, the Jennings and Knowlton rooms. So, and I'll show you a picture of the house. That is the house, the Lizzie Borden home. It looks like a normal house, but apparently it's not. It's pretty creepy. Hard to believe that's where something so horrible happened. And for those of you that don't know the little rhyme, which I'm sure the majority of you do, Lizzie Borden had an axe. She gave her father 40 whacks. When she realized what she'd done, she gave her mother 41. Pretty sure that's how it goes. That's the little rhyme about the Borden murders. A lot of people think that's just an urban legend. That really happened. That was a real thing. She really did kill her parents because she was, I would say, mentally ill. Or maybe just evil, I don't know. Let's see. Alright. The Joshua Ward House. Now, I haven't read this, so I don't know what this is going to consist of, and I don't see a picture of the house anywhere, so. Alright. Joshua Ward House. One of the most haunted houses in Massachusetts is considered to be Joshua Ward House, located at 148th Washington Street in Salem, Massachusetts. I can never say that right. It's 1 block south of town, House Square, which is right in the center of the historical Salem. It used to overlook the South River, but at some point this part of the river was filled in. It sets back from the street on a big sloping front yard, impressively built. This brick home climbs 3 stories high and now serves as offices to Carlson Realty and the Higgins Book Company. Let's see. The Joshua Ward House was built by none other than the retired sea captain Joshua Ward during the middle of the 1780s. Ward played host to George Washington in October 1789 while he visited Salem. Late during the 19th century, the house was turned into a high-end hotel known as the Washington Hotel. History of the haunted house. The land that Joshua Ward chose to build his house on was Sheriff George Corwin, also known as the Strangler. Was where Sheriff George Corwin, also known as the Strangler, lived, as well as maintained his jail in the 1680s. It was his self-appointed duty to interrogate anyone suspected of witchcraft, as well as carry out the death sentences passed over anyone found to be guilty of practicing Satanism, black arts, or cursing spells. Creepy. These took place during the hunting of witches in Salem between 1692 and 1693. There were 19 alleged Salem witches that were executed during this time, and the sheriff was responsible for all of them. These poor people were hung, slowly strangling to death if they managed to make it through the horrible process of interrogation, which back then it wasn't the interrogation like it is today. Like they ask you questions. It was torture you until you confess. The sheriff was a true sadist and was quite inventive when it came to devising some truly despicable interrogation methods. He would do such horrible things to the accused, like tying their necks to their ankles until their noses bled. The suspects were even crushed by rocks in an effort to get them to confess or deny being involved in witchcraft. Many victims cursed their accusers along with the sheriff before dying. Since people tend to haunt the places where they have been unjustly murdered, there's little wonder that there are many reported sightings of ghosts along the paranormal activity in Washington, or in Joshua Ward's house. These poor victims were mistreated so badly and their deaths were so beyond horrible that they're returning to the scene of the crime. The hauntings. The spirits of two innocent victims of Sheriff Cornwin are quite possibly still searching for the man responsible for their deaths. And one of the most haunted houses in MA, one of these is a woman sporting wild black hair. This woman has been spotted wandering through the hallways of the building. She turned up in a photograph that was taken of a realtor from Carlson Realty. Her image was angry and threatening as she stood in one of the hallways. The other one is of a man. His name is Giles Corey, and everybody's familiar with that if you've seen The Crucible or read The Crucible or you just know your history. And he was falsely accused of being a Salem witch. The sheriff tortured and killed him with crushing rocks in order to get him to try to confess, which he never did. If you don't know that, they said, do you confess, Giles Corey? And he said, more weight. And of course that killed him. So he was basically, in his own way, back then, telling them pretty much to go to hell. In fact, the final curse he put on Sheriff Cornwin has also affected several of the sheriffs following after him for years. Various oddities and paranormal activities occur in the Joshua Ward house. Such things as trash cans overturned, books pulled from the shelves, rooms messed up, candles taken out, melted and bent into an S shape. There are also cold spots felt in certain rooms. The good sheriff himself has also been spotted as well as felt by witnesses. Sightings are of an older man sitting by the fireplace in a rocking chair. In the mid-1980s, there were people that reported an unseen entity choking them. It's possible that Sheriff Cornwin returned in an attempt to take charge once more. It may also have been one of his many victims trying to share the horrors they suffered. The current owners of the Joshua Ward house don't share with the public all the details of the haunting and spookiness that goes on in the home. However, it can be taken for granted that the Joshua Ward house is among the most haunted houses in Massachusetts, being visited by the spirit of many of the poor, innocent murder victims of Sheriff Cornwin. The photograph showing the angry female in the background pretty much says it all, and there is no photograph. I don't know what it's... There is no photograph of an angry female, so... I don't really know what it's talking about when it says that, but you can try to look that up, but that photograph wasn't here. I would have showed it to you. Here's another one about Salem witches. Wait a minute. Never mind, that's not really a house. Well, I mean, I'm trying to go for haunted houses in America. Here's a haunted red light. Or headlight. Lighthouse. Good God. Red light. They didn't even have red lights back then. Anyway. Hector Head Lighthouse is one of the most well-known Oregon lighthouses in both beauty and hauntings. It got its name from Don Bruno Hectia, I hope I said that right, who is the Spanish sailor that discovered the site in Florence, Oregon in 1755. It was initially known as Devil's Elbow State Park, but is now named Hector Head Lighthouse State Science Viewpoint. Included in the park are the lighthouses and the Southern Cove. The 56-foot tall tower of the lighthouse is one of the original buildings there and sits 205 feet over sea level. The ghost of Hector House. The name of the most famous resident ghost of the Hector House Lighthouse bed and breakfast is Rue. There are some descriptions as to who this ghost... Oh, wait a minute. Discrepancies as to who this ghost actually is. The most popular legend is that Rue was married to an assistant lightkeeper in the 1890s. The couple had a young daughter that drowned in either the ocean or local estuary. It depends on which version you hear. In this one, Rue was distraught she took her own life. This ghost that haunts the Hector house is looking for her daughter. Another theory is that Rue was actually Miss Frank DeRoy, wife to a lighthouse keeper's assistant. This was a strong-willed and domineering woman. She was a picky housekeeper and is the person responsible for painting the boring walls of Hector House a much happier color. Nothing official shows that she lost a child, however. Hector Head's Lighthouse Haunting. Let's see. A young couple was hired to look after Hector Head House during the early 1970s. They heard strange, unexplained clicks and footsteps, cupboards that were latched open on their own, dishes rattled for no reason. The house was terribly warm during the night, and extremely cold and hot spots are often warnings of hauntings. One night, this couple and their guest were startled by a loud scream that came from the center of the room where they sat. Their cats were also startled by this shriek. The husband went to the bedroom to obtain his car keys when he caught sight of a long skirt going across the hall. He could actually hear the swooshing sound of the skirt as she moved right through a locked door that led into an empty bedroom. The wife also saw an apparition pass through a doorway when she was carrying dishes into the kitchen, or otherwise... Other witnesses noted a long smoky cloud climbing the stairway. On another occasion, carpenter James Anderson was working in the Hector Head house attic and realized his tools had disappeared. They were eventually located in a different room. Nothing ever stayed where he put it. It was a puzzle to James because there was only one entrance to the attic, and that was through a trap door. As he was cleaning windows one day, he saw the reflection of someone standing behind him. When he turned around, there was an elderly woman dressed in a long skirt coming toward him. Frightened out of his mind, James ran from the attic and refused to go back into the attic ever again. So, those are basically the stories of some of the other haunted houses. We're going to do 3 videos of this because there's a lot of haunted houses. There's no way in the world I could get all of them in one video, you know what I mean? So, but thank you guys for listening to my babblings about my personal life. I appreciate that. I'm glad I'm over it because that was a hard time for me, man. I hope to God this isn't going to be a bad year. But if it is, you guys are going to be seeing a lot more YouTube videos from me because me and her used to go hang out every weekend, and now I don't have anybody to hang out with, so I'll be here reading ghost stories to you guys. So good news for you guys. But I love you guys, and I hope you're doing okay out there. Peace, love, and have a great day.